What's up, Unlocking Your Inner Strength listeners? How would you like to know how much your time is actually worth in monetary value? And I'll give you a hint. If you don't know this, you're pissing away a lot of your valuable time. Well, I have good news for you. I've put together a special report about time mastery that's normally $45, but since you're a loyal listener to the show, you can get it for only $10 at unlockingyourinnerstrength.com/time.
You're listening to The Inner Strength Show. If you want to step into your greatness, you've come to the right place. Here is your host, the human strength expert, Kyle Newell.
What's up, everybody? It's Kyle back with you once again with another episode of Unlock Your Inner Strength. This is episode number 88. Today, we're going to be going over the myth of small, frequent meals to speed your metabolism, as well as the myth of cardio for fat loss. Before we get to that, I want to go over some mindset stuff as usual. There's 4 keys to longevity. 4 keys. Walking. What's the importance of walking? Walking gives you mental clarity. It's the only exercise that lowers cortisol levels, that reduces stress during the actual exercise. If you walk at a brisk pace, you increase blood flow to the brain, just enough where you get BDNF, which is basically fertilizer for your brain to help it grow and to help it kind of think clearly, I should say. So walking is very peaceful. I like to walk in the morning. I recommend everybody walk, especially when the weather gets nice. You get outside and you should be walking. So that's the first key to longevity. The second one is fasting. Interestingly, I was just listening to a podcast where the doctor was talking about how when you deprive the brain in certain situations, whether it's thirst or fasting, there's research that shows that, again, it increases BDNF, which is a growth factor for the brain, which helps the brain form new neural pathways, helps the brain stay young. Now, fasting is also very good at keeping inflammation low, very good for, like we said, mental clarity, very good for digestive health. Autophagy happens when we fast, which means your body goes through and clips off dead parts of or damaged parts of cells, kind of cleans up. So fasting is very good for longevity. So you have walking and fasting are the first 2 keys. The third key, squatting, the ability to squat down. If you go to the supermarket and you look around, how many people do you think can actually squat down, even if it's just their body weight, where they can, squat down, keep the heels flat without any pain, without needing help to get up? Not many people. The legs are the first thing to go as we age, and that's usually what happens with athletes. If you look at great athletes, usually their explosiveness goes, and it's the hips and the lower body. So the ability to squat, I'm not saying squatting with a lot of weight, I'm just saying squatting with body weight. If you look at babies and infants and toddlers, they're excellent squatters, and they are youth. They're youth personified. So you have walking, fasting, squatting, and the last one is laughing. When I do my F5 system, which is right here for the week, so I keep track of it right here, okay? One of the things on there is fun. Laughter is great medicine for the brain. There's nothing like laughter. Again, you release good hormones in the brain. Most people simply do not laugh enough. Why would you want to live a life where you don't laugh, or where you laugh very little, or where you don't smile? Just smiling, okay? You can change your state just through physiology. And it's not always just movement. Sometimes it's smiling and laughing. You don't actually have to go out running or walking. You could change your state simply by smiling and laughing. So the 4 keys of youth: walking, fasting, squatting, and laughing. All right, so let's get to today's topic, the myth of small, frequent meals. So this is a continuation from the 3 that I did last week, the 3 first myths. So today's 2 myths are a little bit more prevalent, a little bigger. So there's this myth out there that the more frequently you eat and the small meals that you eat, like grazing, that you're going to speed your metabolism. There's no research to support this whatsoever. So food processing times roughly 4 hours before, if you eat a solid meal before it's digested, passed through the first part of your intestine and moved on. No. So first of all, get out of your mind that you need to eat more than frequently every 4 hours, even if you're trying to gain weight. Not very efficient. That's how you're going to cause a lot of inflammation in the gut. And you got to remember, your digestive health is really everything. That's where 80% of your immune system is stored. A lot of your lymph fluid is there, which goes to the immune system. It's your second brain. That's where most of the neurotransmitters are stored. So you got to think of gut health. Okay. The more frequently you eat, the more you're going to destroy your gut health. Now, speeding metabolism, or having optimal metabolism, I should say, is not as much what you're eating, but who you are when you eat it. Are you letting your body relax and chill out? Are you getting parasympathetic, which is relaxing? That goes to a lot of the stuff I just talked about, the 4 keys to longevity: walking, squatting, fasting, and laughing. So are we getting parasympathetic? That's going to change how your body processes food. Some people come to me with blood work and they say, hey, my blood sugar's high, but I eat perfect. And that used to be me too. Not perfect, but I would eat very disciplined, very strict. And my morning fasting glucose would be high. So what is going on? Well, when you're chronically stressed, your body releases blood glucose out into the bloodstream to prepare the muscles for fight or flight. So your body does respond that way, even if you're not actually going to fight or flight. But when you're just stressed, most of the time it's stress up here, psychologically, stuff that might happen with your career, financial stuff, relationship stuff, all this type of stuff, right? So you optimize metabolism by being in a relaxed state. Digestion happens in a parasympathetic state. Now, you also have the thermic effect of food. Actually, before I go to that, let me talk about the more stress you have, the less frequently you should eat, because you're going to eat in that sympathetic state, which means there's not a lot of blood in the gut. Your body is not designed to digest when you're in a survival state, fight, flight, or freeze. So the thermic effect of food, there's multiple parts to your metabolism. Basal metabolic rate is by far the biggest one. If you took your body weight and multiplied that by 10, that's going to give you roughly your basal metabolic rate. There's fancy equations you can do, but you don't need to do. So for me, about 240 pounds, my basal metabolic rate is about 2,400 calories per day I would need to eat just to sustain myself if I was laying in a bed all day, just for my organs, for my nervous system, all that stuff. Then you have NEAT, something called NEAT, non-exercise activity thermogenesis. So stuff like walking around and just moving throughout the day. You actually have exercise-induced thermogenesis. So that's probably the second biggest one. What are you doing with your exercise, and how's that going to optimize metabolism? Okay. And then you have the thermic effect of food. So this is where the myth comes in. When you eat food, your body has to expend energy to break down and assimilate the food. So people took this and said, well, if my body has to expend energy to digest, the more I eat, the more energy it's going to expend. So if you ate, this is moronic thinking, but this is why, where a lot of this stuff comes from. If you ate 100 calories, let's say, and it's a mixture, protein, carbs, fat, and they all have different thermic different burn rates. So if you ate 100 calories, your body might have to expend 10 extra calories to break down that 100 calories. A lot of people say, well, if I eat an extra 1,000 calories because I'm eating more, I'm going to burn more. Yeah, you're burning 100 more calories, but if you just look at simple math, you have all these leftover calories that you didn't need just because you're trying to chase this burn effect. So they did a study in 2007. 10 men fasted for 72 hours, no change in energy expenditure. 3-day fast, part of longevity, remember that, but no change in your energy expenditure. Metabolism did not come to a crawl. Another study, Obesity Research Journal. Women who ate half the food they normally eat for 3 straight days saw no decrease in metabolism. So they ate half the food they normally eat, no decrease in metabolism. And the last study I have here to cite. People aged 25 to 65. No change in metabolism between those who skipped breakfast or those who ate 2 meals per day compared to 7 meals per day. So this idea that you have to eat breakfast as well to get your metabolism going is, again, moronic. It's stupid. It's foolish thinking. But this is what's out there. This is what typical trainers are going to tell you, fake experts, fake gurus. This is what they're going to tell you. Okay, so that's the myth of small, frequent meals. What's up, Unlocking Your Inner Strength listeners? How would you like to know how much your time is actually worth in monetary value. And I'll give you a hint. If you don't know this, you're pissing away a lot of your valuable time. Well, I have good news for you. I've put together a special report about time mastery that's normally $45, but since you're a loyal listener to the show, you can get it for only $10 at unlockingyourinnerstrength.com/time. Now, in the presentation, I had a picture of Johnny for the next part, or this idea for cardio for fat loss. So Johnny's one of the coaches at the gym. So that's Johnny. That was 2010. So Johnny wanted to compete. I said, okay. And Johnny was always in the gym, but you saw what he looked like in the beginning. Nothing that would have indicated that he could get shredded. So Johnny was one of the first people I think I prepped for a show, maybe the second guy. We didn't do any cardio, any traditional cardio throughout, and he got shredded, took 6 first places at that first show by applying these principles. So again, if you look at what's mostly out there, it's hop on a treadmill, hop on an elliptical, go, go, go. You're going to burn fat. Now, all the stuff that we do at Newell Strength is based first in science. This is research-based. And then in reality math. You also have to look around and use your head. So sometimes we come at the answer from one of those two directions, but then we always make sure we combine both of them, right? So reality math, first of all, if you go to any big box gym at the beginning of the new year, you're going to look at people and you're going to see all these people on ellipticals and treadmills, and their resolution is to lose weight, which is, again, a stupid goal because it's not process based. Usually it's just focusing on a number. The process is the goal, but that's a whole different topic. Now, if you go back in 3 months, first of all, most of the people aren't going to be there anymore. And the ones that are going to look exactly the same or fatter. So there's a couple issues there. If they're not there, it's because it wasn't working or because they hated it. Either way, they can form a habit around this to make this work. But that's what they've been taught. So let me tell you the analogy of a duck versus a chicken. So if we look at the breast of a duck and a chicken, okay, so I'm sure everybody that's non-vegetarian that's listening to this has eaten chicken breast before, or at least seen chicken breast. It's white meat. Duck breast is dark meat. Okay. Let me put a question out here, and I'm going to give you a couple seconds to think about it. Can a duck fly longer distance than a chicken? Okay, you should have the answer. The answer is yes. Chickens are very explosive. They cannot fly long distances. Ducks can go for thousands of miles when they go down south for the winter and whatnot, or come back up north for the springtime. Now, the duck, what makes that duck breast dark is something called myoglobin. So myoglobin is oxygen dependent. It's aerobic. It's slow, long distance. Now, myoglobin also is a carrier let me put it this way, where there's myoglobin rich tissue, so slow twitch fiber stuff you're going to use when you're doing cardio, there's a lot of fat storage. Fat gets very efficient. So these ducks can fly thousands, hundreds of miles because they're very good and efficient at storing fat and using fat from all this slow, long distance. We want to have the chicken breast, okay, the white one that's fast and explosive. It's a different color. It's white. Very lean, though. Very lean. So that's important. So there's a study here that I cited by Tremblay. They had a long, slow distance. So that's typically what you're going to see at the gym with cardio machines. I'm going to go over what cardio actually is in a second. And this slow distance, this typical cardio expended double the energy of the high intensity interval training group. Double. So this went on for like 10 weeks. Talking about like 100,000 or 200,000 calories. Now, the skin fold reduction was 9 times greater in the high intensity interval training group, even though they spent a fraction of the time with their conditioning and cardio. Because fat loss happens not what you're doing in the gym. It happens afterwards. It's the EPOC, excess post-exercise oxygen consumption. You want to be out of breath when you're working out. You want to have that carry over to afterwards. So if you did long, slow distance, when you get off that machine, a couple things. You're not burning anything. Your body goes back to homeostasis or normal functioning. And your body gets very efficient, just like the duck at storing and using fat. Now, that might sound good. more efficient at using fat. If your car was more efficient at using fuel, would it use more or less of it? It would use less fuel. It's more efficient at it. We don't want the body to be less, and we're talking about body composition. We don't want the body to be more efficient at using fat because it's going to use less of it. Okay. For survival reasons, that's good. But for body composition, no good. So distance runners, there's another study here by McCardle from 2001. Distant runners that train up to 100 miles per week didn't expend more than 800 to 300 calories extra per day. So 100 miles per week. So you do the math on that. That's 11, 12, 13, 14, 14 and a half miles per day in that range. 14 and a half miles per day. And they only expended 800 to 1,300 extra calories per day. Very efficient at using fat and calories. You do not want to get more efficient. There's minimum effective dose. You want to do the least amount of work to get the stress adaptation you're going after, whether that's building muscle or losing fat. So cardio is not, the muscular system drives the cardiovascular system. Even doctors, most doctors do not get this concept. When you go to the doctor, you got to lose weight, start doing cardio. Now, again, if you like walking is excellent, but don't use it for fat loss unless you're morbidly obese. It's an indirect pathway to fat loss because of what it does to the brain and stress reduction. But I'm talking about pure fat loss, not indirect routes. The muscular system drives the cardiovascular system. The cardiovascular system does not drive the muscular system. So the more muscle you work, the more oxygen debt you get, the more cardiovascular work you get, the stronger your heart's going to be. So it's great for heart health too. So we train peripheral heart action, head to toe. You want blood pumping head to toe. If you can talk again, you should be doing your next set. That's the way it works. So reality, math, and science, cardio, as you know it, as is taught out there, does not work for fat loss. And I could go on and on about stories about how you actually program your body to balloon up with fat and swell up. And it happened to me multiple times when I was getting ready for my first bodybuilding shows when I was given faulty advice. You train your body to store extra fat, just like the duck breast. That's dark, that can go thousands of miles, and it's very fatty. Anyway, those are the two myths for today. I kind of rambled on there. Remember, though, at the beginning, I talked about these weren't the myths, but this is very important in case you just tuned in. 4 keys to longevity: walking, fasting, squatting, and laughing. You can rewind or go back and watch the video if you want to know why. That's all I have for episode number 88. Please leave a review on iTunes if you have not already done so. That would help me out a lot. And that's about it. And share this with somebody that can use a positive word or just wants to know about this type of stuff. And I really appreciate you tuning in, and be back next week with episode number 89. Peace.
You've been listening to The Inner Strength Show. If you enjoyed the show, remember to subscribe, rate, and review us in iTunes.